Branden Sewell. I am the owner of Seal Pro Painting based in Central Florida and the host of the Off the Ladder podcast. We exist to help home service businesses learn, lead well, and ultimately live life off the ladder. Today's guest is Christine Hodge, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. She is the CEO of Clearview Washing, LLC. They offer exterior cleaning. They do power washing, window washing, roof cleaning, flat surface cleaning, and more. They've been in business for 20 years. Their service area is New Jersey and Eastern PA. They have 28 employees, very impressive. They have an annual revenue and net profit this year doing 2 million, just over 2 million, and then they will net about 20%. A quick bio on Christine. Christine Hodge is a dynamic entrepreneur and the CEO of Clearview Washing. They are a leading home service company headquartered in Freehold, New Jersey. In addition to her thriving business, Christine finds joy in being a loving wife and devoted mom. As a passionate party planner, she often indulges in her creative side by organizing memorable events on the side. With a deep-rooted desire to uplift and empower fellow entrepreneurs in the home service industry, Christine aims to share her knowledge and experiences to help others succeed. Her relentless drive and determination stem from her genuine desire to motivate and inspire business owners to reach their fullest potential. In her free time, Christine unwinds by immersing herself in the popular show Shark Tank and drawing inspiration from the innovative ideas and entrepreneurial journeys showcased on the program. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast today, Christine. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we were talking just before starting that, we had the opportunity to meet in Nashville, and that was just a pleasure being on the Masters of Home Service podcast together out there. And, when I had the opportunity to meet you, it was clear to see your passion and just how excited you get about the home service industry and just the wealth of wisdom that you bring to the table. And I think you had mentioned that, Clearview Washing it's a family operation, correct?
Correct.
So how many family members work in the business, and how did it kind of originate and get started 20 years ago?
Well, the company started almost 20 years ago. My husband was studying entrepreneurship at Rowan University. My husband is Fred Hodge Jr. And while he was studying at Rowan, his parents, who lived in central New Jersey, which is where our company is based, hired a window washing company to clean their windows. And that company never showed up.
Oh, wow.
And so Freddie had to create a business plan for a school project. And he was like, let me try to create a business plan for window washing. And he bought all the supplies from Home Depot or Lowe's, and he washed his parents' windows, and he wrote about it. And then his dad was like, I think we're onto something here. And they put out some, ads in the newspaper, because that was how you advertised back then. And they really started window washing. So it's actually a really cool story, because he worked on his own, and his friends and family members would help him through the years. And now it's grown to such a large operation. Currently, my mother-in-law is the head of the office. My father-in-law is the head of sales. And my brother-in-law was working with us as the head of field operations, but he just bought his own company, which is very exciting, a pool maintenance company. So nice. We're definitely staying in the home service industry. And then I joined when we had our daughter about 6 years ago. My background is in the corporate world. I was a corporate litigation paralegal. And when we had our daughter, I actually really wanted to stay home. And I left my job, but, over dinners and just always being around Freddie, I got so involved and passionate about what he was doing. And I really felt like if we joined forces, we can create something pretty magical. So that's when I jumped on board.
That's awesome. It's interesting to hear, of family members working in a business together, because obviously that's got to bring its own challenges and dynamics. But one person that I love listening to in regards to that is Dave Ramsey. Like he talks about how in his business, obviously, like his son is working there, Rachel Cruz, like, you know, so he's got multiple family members there, and he talks about those dynamics a lot. And so, of course, it has, you know, the challenges, but it seems like it can be, you know, it can thrive. So, could you speak to that really quick on how that dynamic has, you know, been beneficial and maybe some of the challenges that are there?
You know, it can be challenging, but when it's done the right way, um, it really is magical, because when you are the sole person, like if you're in charge of your company and no one else in the company is a family member, you're not going to get that same level of passion, right?
Right.
So when you have this many family members on board, everyone is so incredibly passionate about the success of the company. So
Right.
as long as you navigate it properly, it really is magical because of how many people who are working here really care about the business. And that kind of just spreads throughout our team and amongst our employees. And we even say, you know, when we're hiring or in any post that you'll see on social media, like any employee that works with us feels like family. And if you don't
Sure.
feel like family, the employment relationship probably isn't even going to work,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how we bring our kids around everybody. We had, you know, we have family, we have employee functions at our house sometimes. So like we like to keep that family dynamic going.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we felt that the key to our success with this many family members is really creating strict boundaries. And it took a few years to get to it. But once everyone kind of understood the boundaries, it's huge. So like we don't, our family text thread, and I think I've said this on a podcast once, it might have been a jobber one. Our family text thread is to share pictures of the kids and exciting family stuff and hey, can't wait
Mm-hmm.
for Sunday dinner. We are not throwing in any business things on that family text thread. Business is through our business email.
Right.
So we've set these like really strict boundaries. And the reason I like to speak about it is because, you know, going to the huge convention and like other home service events, so many families have joined forces in the home service industry, and a lot of wives have left their jobs and to work with their husbands. And we like to say that's doable. Just set rules about money, set rules about communication, and respect each other like your colleagues. And
Yeah.
it can be great.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Dave talks about. You know, if you listen to like the Entree Leadership podcast that they have, is he often says like when they come to work, you know, he is no longer dad. He is Dave Ramsey, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the founder of Ramsey Solutions and, you know, all that they do there. And you know, so like when they're in meetings, like he's addressed that way, and they set those boundaries of like, okay, this is work, that's personal, it's a different dynamic. So I think boundaries in general in business are extremely necessary, but especially when you're working with family, I can imagine that it's extremely necessary to protect, you know, those relationships and things like that.
It's very
um
important because you'll notice that, you know, family members can sometimes speak to each other because you like even spouses, right? Like in any family dynamic, you speak to them differently than you would somebody else. So if you're angry, you'll speak to them differently than you would if you were angry with an employee. You know what I
right.
mean? So it's so important to remember that in the workplace, we're not family. Like I know you're passionate and you love me and I love you, but we're
Mm-hmm.
colleagues and you would never speak to a colleague like that. So we're not
Right.
doing it at work. So it's fantastic. It really can create magic because you get all these passionate people involved, and then you set these boundaries and you set these rules, and it's just all about work. And it's very rare to get that many passionate people on board with your business.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, with you coming in and operating as the CEO of the business, can you kind of, you know, obviously, we're the whole purpose of this is to help those that are, trying to figure out, how do I get out of the field and become the CEO of my business? How do I, hire team members? How do I set up the systems and the processes that I need so that I don't have to be doing all of this work? Can you kind of share your expertise on, you could share systems and software, different things that people need to have in place to get out of the field?
Absolutely. One major component is if you are, the sole operator, you're the owner of the company and you're working alone, even if you have one person on board, chances are that you have not written down or documented what your responsibilities are. And that's a step that everybody skips. And they're like, I want to grow my business and I want to hire people and I want to get off the truck and I want to be able to work on my business and not in my business. And you will not be able to do that until you write down every single thing that you do. You answer phone calls, you answer text messages, you answer Google, Google AdWords requests and Facebook requests, and you have requests coming in from everywhere. But you're also doing the job, and you're also everything. You're sending a follow-up text message so that you can try and get a review. Every single thing that you do as an owner operator has to be documented. Right. We've done it to the point, I did this exercise a few years ago with my office staff. We've done it using Post-its, where like one task goes on a Post-it, and then you're physically saying, okay, this task is going to remain with me. This task has to go to someone else. And you start creating these buckets and categories. After you've done that, you're able to identify where do you need help and who do you need to hire to do that job. Can you hire one person to handle those two buckets? Because those other two buckets are small enough where one person can handle it for now, and then down the line add a third person. Another way that we like to look about it are the high value tasks. So like the ownership tasks versus the $20 per hour tasks. The $15 to $20 per hour tasks you want to take out of your bucket. And that's like your first step in delegation. I find joy in doing, admittedly, the $15 to $20 per hour tasks because it's a lot of organization and administrative stuff. And I like to have control over that. But I shouldn't be doing that as the CEO of the company. I need to be focusing on the high value things and then delegate the $20 per hour tasks. So it's very important. You can use a whiteboard and just create little buckets or columns and just write down what things should remain with you and what things you can hire for. And that's your first step. And then once you get to that point, you really need to document your workflow. So when a lead comes in, what happens next? As the owner, you know what happens next. You know what to do. But as an owner, you sometimes think to yourself, well, it's common sense. After the lead comes in, you have to call them and then you just schedule a quote and then you schedule a job. And then like it's common sense to you. It's not it's never going to be common sense to somebody that you bring on board. Yeah. So you have to document we have scripts for steps in our process. So like if a customer calls and says this is what you're telling them. And that's how we do our training until they kind of, memorize the script or kind of get the gist of it. So it's very important to document everything, even though it seems silly. You can do this in a day or two. And that's like a good first step in mapping out your game plan.
Yeah. I have a leader that I admire who says that when a failure to create expectation is creating premeditated resentment. And, it's like when we fail to document these KPIs, these expectations for someone who's going to have that task as an employee, if we don't have those proper expectations outlined, well, then it's our fault when they don't follow through or do it how we want them to. So like you're saying, I totally agree. Whatever we want done, we need to document it because we can't just have this expectation for others to know what's in our head. So that's incredibly valuable. So what I hear you saying is if you want to get out of the field, the first thing you need to do is document everything that you do. Create clear and defined KPIs, key performance indicators for what that job and the responsibilities look like for each role. And that'll help.
Yep, everything, every opening up mail, you get mail at the shop. It's every single task that you do has to be documented and delegated.
Yeah. So having, I guess, you could say like your standard operating procedures, your KPIs for each role and responsibility. That was a game changer for me when I started hiring. When I have guys come in, one of the first things I'll show them is like our KPI for that role. Like this is everything that's going to be expected of you and all your roles and responsibilities. So there's no like guesswork of what that person's going to be doing. Um, could you speak to the mindset that you need in order to let go of those tasks? Like, so if you're the person who's an owner operator, you're out there doing everything, you want to get out of the field and become, the owner, the CEO of your company, but you're having a hard time letting go of those tasks and trusting and letting somebody else do it. Can you speak to like the mindset of what that takes?
Yes. So it's when you're so passionate about your own business, you almost feel like no one will ever be able to do it the way that you do. I'm guilty of that. That's why I like to do the $15 per hour tasks, because I feel like if I have control of it, it will get done my way, right? Which is obvious because I'll be the one doing it. The problem is then you will never be able to get off the truck. You will never be able to grow. And something that's pretty cool is as an entrepreneur, you have the ability to change somebody's life. If you're bringing on employees, you have the ability to give somebody a career. And the first step in doing that is having the ability to let go and train to the best of your ability and then empower somebody to make those decisions. So while it will benefit your business and benefit the growth, and there will be some um, learning curves and there will be some issues along the way and things won't always get done the way you want them to, but you can use them as learning opportunities and opportunities to train better. You are also potentially changing somebody's life and allowing them the opportunity to not just have a job, but this can be their career. Like let them get creative. We've done that before. We've, had a field ops manager come to us and say, I think we should do this, this, and this today. I think we should arrange the calendar in this way because I think that it would make for a better day. And I am so on top of our calendar because I always want to make sure we're like maximizing profits each day. And I was like so uncomfortable with it. And my husband was like, let's let them, let's see if they, this is a good opportunity for us to let them take control and see if it works out. And it didn't work out. It was actually a disaster. It was a horrible day. The game plan didn't work. But you know what? We gave them the opportunity to try, and then we learned from it. We had a conversation about it. We said, this is why I would not do it that way. And I understand why you thought it would work your way. So what can we do in the future to find a happy medium? Yeah. So again, you have to let go and let them feel empowered to make company decisions so that you can make them feel wanted and needed at the job. And that's the beauty of taking on employees. And then you just grow together and learn together.
Yeah. One of the things that I've kind of set as a precedent, and, I share this with my guys is, you know, at the end of the day, even I make failures, right? There's things that I make mistakes on. And I tell my guys, I'm like, if me staying, like having this business was based on my mistakes and failures, well, then I should get fired. So what I tell them is, as long as you have the right attitude, you remain teachable, you are willing to work on mistakes, then I can 100% work with that. So I think like for guys who maybe have this mindset of like, I'm the only one who can do it, nobody can do it better, it really takes some humility and like taking a step back and like take the thought process of like, wow, what failures have I made? Mm-hmm. And you know, well, if all everything that I did was based on my failures, well, then should I just close up shop and walk away from it? It's like, no, you make mistakes, you fail, you learn from it, you get better. And so that's the expectation that I set for my employees is like, you know, I even tell them, I'm like, when I bring you on, I'm not bringing you on just to accomplish tasks, right? I want to delegate authority to you to make decisions, because part of not being in the field every day, it's like today I've got 3 guys working on a job and I'm not there, but I have confidence and I trust that they can make decisions and get it done without me, and I don't have to be there. But that takes, you know, them understanding, hey, I trust you and I trust you to make decisions and I don't have to be there. And look, if you make a mistake, let's just address it together. So yeah, I think it's I love that you shared that you were willing to let go, let that employee or the business try that decision out, and then when it failed, just kind of hashing it over and saying, hey, this is why it didn't. So yeah, I think that's a really big learning point for anyone who wants to get out of the field, is like you have to be willing to let go and trust, and then just have the proper perspective. It's like mistakes are going to happen. You could make mistakes, but it's like, how do you grow from them and move forward, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that a huge part of getting out of the field is leadership, right? It's stepping back and really working on yourself, investing in yourself to grow as a leader. And I would say that you guys are obviously doing that well if you have 28 employees. Can you speak to what it takes to run that kind of, excuse me, can you speak to what that looks like to have 28 employees and managing that, and kind of the systems and processes that are in place to manage that size of a team?
Absolutely. We created an org chart about 4 years ago, and we created this org chart to kind of define the workflow in terms of communication. And the reason we did the org chart was because, you know, there's the first component of so many family members being involved. So everybody wants to get involved in everything, you know, all the good, all the bad. But then there's also the employees kind of look at all family members as the boss. And that's no good either, because they don't know who to call, you know? So as a result,
Right.
everyone's calling everybody. So we created this org chart, and anytime it changes, because you know the industry changes, the amount of people you have change, crews change, but every time it changes, I blast it out to everybody again. And it just shows that wherever your line is pointed to, that's your first phone call. So essentially, I won't hear from the crew directly. They would report to their field ops manager, and then their field ops manager would report to me. And if they can't reach the field ops manager, they would contact me. If they can't reach me, they would contact my husband, Freddie. I report directly into Freddie. So I created this because I want everybody to understand. And you know, you see some companies with like 40, 50 trucks and, you know, 150 employees, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, how do you manage that many? We have 28, and that's like challenging. So how do you manage that many employees? Well, there has to be a like kind of like a hierarchy, like, and I feel like that goes through an org chart. They have to know who to call. They have to know what to do. That's why the process is so important. If this happens, you do that. If that happens, you do this. And so there's just again, going back to like a lot of documentation. When you are in the home service industry, it's very field heavy, right? Not everybody is ever at the same place at the same time. Even if you're having your, you know, 7 a.m. morning meetings, your admins aren't there, and your sales team is not there. So you're never getting everybody in the same place. Like for us, it'll be like team kickoff, which is, the yearly kickoff in March. We have a Clearview day in August where we get everyone together, take the day off and do something fun. And we have our holiday party. Those are 3 days a year that we're all at the same place at the same time. So the only way around that is for you to have documentation and that org chart showing like who to contact. And that way you kind of like keep things under wraps and it doesn't get chaotic. And again, that resulted from almost like a fail in training. Like you bring on more people, and then we've talked about like growing too fast, right? You're like, well, I need to get 2 or 3 more trucks out on the road. And then you bring on like 4 to 6 people, and then everyone's calling everybody and everyone is all stressed out. And then at the end of the day, I would call my husband and be like, 75% of the phone calls that I got today, I should have never even known about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing's going to take down the company. It's not a big deal. You have, if you're working with residential customers, you can do 50 fantastic jobs in 1 week, but you get one really bad residential customer that's causing a stir and calling everybody in the company and cursing people out. And that's inevitable in the home service industry. Not everybody in the company needs to know about it. Do you know what I mean? But that tends to be what the focus completely shifts to. The sales guy's mad. The ownership is mad. The admin's upset because she's the one getting yelled at. The field crew's upset. Everyone's upset. And you're like, as a leader, you have to like refocus everybody. That customer doesn't matter. She's not going to put us out of business. There's an issue. We come up with a process to deal with it, and we move on, and we focus on the 49 other fantastic jobs that happened this week.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like mental, you have to have like the leadership maturity to like reel everybody in and be like, good or bad, you are following this org chart. This is the only person you're calling, and that's the only person I want to hear from, and kind of start there. And, that goes hand in hand with what we talked about earlier with like training and processes and letting go of control, because issues tend to create an opportunity to create a process. So if you have, you create a process for when a day goes normal, like this is our normal workflow. Well, how do you handle when something goes wrong? What is the process if a truck hits somebody's mailbox? What is the process if you get this type of customer? So it also creates opportunity to create processes around bad things that you don't want to deal with, but you have to deal with them. And this might be the best way to deal with it.
Yeah, that's so good. Explain to those who are listening, what is your process for, and how important is it to have like a good system in place for onboarding, training, ongoing training? What does that look like when you have a team this size? And just try to help us understand, what that looks like for growing.
Of course. So training and all of that is incredibly important, but we truly believe that it starts from your hiring process. And we've actually presented on this, that we would hire anybody who can breathe. So like you have a field employee, you showed up to the interview, you're hired, right? And we've changed that. So now we have a multi-step hiring process where there's a lot of communication that takes place. And that communication alone, that many points in communication, will weed out 90% of your applicants.
Yeah. That's
so I call it the ball in your court method. So like if someone sends me a resume on Indeed, for example, I'm going to respond to that resume, through Indeed, either by phone or, their messaging system. And I'm going to say, please provide me 3 days and times that works for a phone interview. 9 out of 10 times they won't respond because that's too much work. Well, that's the person that I do not want to hire, but I would have hired them back in the day because it would have been one step and they would have showed up and we would have been like, you can breathe, you're in. So
that's good.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that you can do before you even bring somebody on to like find out who are the great guys. So we're in exterior cleaning. So we believe that most people can power wash. Like if you can lift the gun, you can power wash. So everything else can be trained, but punctuality can't be trained. Communication can't be trained. We're working on multi-million-dollar homes. We are considered the high-end residential, luxury clients are the ones we're catering to. I have to be able to put you in front of a customer. So you're going to have to be able to communicate with them nicely, effectively, and respectfully. Appearance, and you're keeping your clothes clean and keeping our trucks clean and things like that. And you have to fit in with the family personality wise. I want you to come in and, I'm not there in the morning, I'm with the kids, but Freddie's there and he's handshaking every guy who walks in. If you can't walk in and give my husband a handshake, there's a respect thing there. This might not go very far. Like I show up to jobs and I'm giving everyone hugs and kisses. So like, that's the type of vibe that we want to maintain for our company. And as the owner, you have that flexibility. You can create the atmosphere however you want it to be. I want music blasting at our shop every morning so that everybody is happy. Music just naturally releases these endorphins that everyone needs to like wake up and feel energized. So anyway, we set the tone for our company like that, but it begins with the hiring process. Yeah. Once they do a phone interview with me, they move on to an in-person interview. And that scheduling process, again, might weed them out because they might have a fantastic phone interview and then they just never respond to me to schedule the in-person interview because it was too many steps for them. And so they're not getting hired. Anyway, once you make it through all of our steps and we bring you on and you're hired.
Let me ask a quick question really quick. In your interview, do you have a standard interview process? So like when somebody gets to in-person, is there like a specific, list of questions you ask them? Kind of go into that really quick in detail.
That's a great detail. So the phone interview covers 10 points of things that you just need to do this job. So you need your own transportation to and from the shop because we've tried it, in every other way and people are trying to get rides and you know what I mean? It just doesn't work. You need a valid driver's license in case you do have to drive a truck. You need to be able to lift 50 pounds. So like those are the, you need to be able to work Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Overtime is required because if a job is running over, you're staying, So those are like, the phone interview is where we're saying like, can you just do these 10 things? Do you have these 10 things? Not really personality based, but I'm kind of picking up on how they communicate with me and what that looks like. And then if I like the level of communication and all of their answers fit the mold, in the in-person interview, there's also a script. And interestingly enough, the first question that my husband does the in-person interview, the first question is, what did you do yesterday? And if that person did nothing, they're not joining our company.
Wow.
I want to hear that person was looking for jobs. That person, took their kid to go do this. That person was renovating their bathroom in their house. I want somebody who's motivated the way me and Freddie are. I want you to like be hungry. I want to know what your goals and dreams are. I want to know like, why do you want to get this job? Do you want to just work here for the summer or do you want to, become a manager? Do you want to do this for a little bit, learn the business and then move into sales? So like, we want hungry, motivated people like ourselves, because if you're not hungry and motivated, you're not going to represent our company well.
That's good.
So that's how the actual interview goes.
And that's the initial phone interview. And then as far as the in-person, is it kind of getting more in depth? Like, for example, here, I have a specific list of questions that I ask, and it's really trying to figure out like their character, right? Who are you as a person? Are you going to fit our culture? And then I'm taking those answers to those questions, and I'm at that point, I can really make a decision. Okay, this person did not answer this question well. They're not going to work. And then let me ask this: how strict are you, and how important is it to be strict on, because I think the worst hire is the one that you make out of desperation, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I gotta have some. Yeah, kind of like what you're saying. Like, you can breathe. Yes, please come help. Um, how important is it that you like stick to your guns, and like when somebody fails one of those areas, how, you know, deliberate are you on saying no, this person's out?
Well, yeah, so we're very strict on that. We needed, admittedly, two more guys in the field this spring because
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to maximize what we grossed in the spring because that's our like busiest season, and we did not hire. We did not
Mm-hmm.
find those two guys, and then the moment has passed, and we are not bringing on somebody. You will spend on average $5,000 in time and resources bringing on the wrong person.
Mm.
So we are not willing to risk that. It's just our crews are going to be busy and we're going to deal with it until we find a rock star long-term employee.
That's good.
Um, and then to go back to your previous question, that phone interview is only the foot in the door questions. It's, can you lift 50 pounds? Can you get to and from the shop? Can you get there at 7 a.m.? Stuff like that.
Right.
The in-person interview is what you were talking about, the character interview. Freddie
Okay.
is sitting there looking at them. They're talking. It's more conversational. It's not so factual. And that's where we say, like, hey, he met all my criteria in the phone interview. He met all your criteria in terms of personality and conversation and stuff like that. Let's send them an offer.
Okay. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I want to just say really quick is so many times I hear, I can't find good help. There's not, people don't want to work. And something that I've really decided for myself is to not say that, but to reflect and say, how can I, how can I become the company that attracts great people? Right. So it's taking ownership and saying, okay, well, before when I hired a bunch of bad guys, was it because, there aren't great people out there? Or is it because um, my hiring process was not really tuned in and refined? So it's like I was just letting anybody come on board, where getting those systems in place helped me to, like what you're saying, weed people out. So I think it's really important to change our perspective on that and say, how do I become the company that great people want to work for? And I think if we change that in the home service industry and we become those great, amazing professional companies, with these great systems and processes, and we're organized, we'll start to attract great people. So with that, next step is obviously onboarding and training. What does that look like for you guys?
Onboarding and training is they basically go through a 2-week training period with a lead trainer. So our best field tech is essentially promoted to lead trainer. Their title is lead trainer for those 2 weeks. And then they go back to, their lead technician position and, with their partner. But during that 2-week period, now we're kind of thinking like, we loved their personality. We know that they'd fit, we think that they'd fit in with us. Let's see if they can actually learn the technical aspects of the job. And that's where what we spoke about earlier, like having the ability to let go and let an employee take the lead. Our lead
Mm-hmm.
trainer is then reporting to us, every few days, like they're doing great, but they're not good here. So we had a fantastic, this was in the summer, I want to say, a fantastic phone interview, fantastic in-person interview, great appearance. Like we were like, he's going to represent the company so well. We
Mm-hmm.
sent them out with our lead trainer, Elizabeth, who's a rock star. And she trains everybody on, power washing, window washing, roof cleaning, everything, all the technical aspects of the job. And on day 2, she was like, he's absolutely terrible, a terrible human being.
Mm-hmm.
He was throwing he would be, they'd be in the truck and he'd be throwing cigarette boxes out the window,
Mm.
McDonald's boxes out the window, cursing, smoking. Like she was like, I cannot be in a vehicle with him ever again. Just a terrible human being. And I was like, done. Thank you for telling me, when we got rid of him
Right.
right away. So you do all that you can, right? That's the importance of the process, because with each step of your process, it's acting as a filter.
Mm-hmm.
The phone interview, you're filtering some people out. The in-person interview, you're filtering some people out. But you should have a training period and kind of put the trust in another employee or somebody else or a family member to say, like, now what do you think of them? And then that's another filter. And then we nipped it right away. Day 2 was his last day on the job.
Okay.
Clothes were still clean. We told him that. He came by to pick up his pay. He dropped off the pants and the shirts and the sweatshirts that we gave him, and that was it. And we cut our losses very quickly. So again, there's power in having a multi-step process because
Yeah.
you're able to weed some people out.
Yeah. Something that I started doing is so after I do like my initial contact with a person, doing like an on phone or interview, or maybe just a chat through Indeed or whatever it might be. Um, Once I bring them in for the in-person interview, and if I decide that I want to hire them, then I schedule another meeting. And in this meeting, this has been a game changer for me. I go through our entire employee policy manual, which is like 50 to 60 pages, and we go through the entire thing, and basically just give that person we're onboarding a very quick brief on, these are all of our policies. This is what we expect from you. Go over their KPI. It's a document KPI for that role. And then we go through the mission statement for the company. And we go over all the values. And, we have a person sign off that they agree to, operate according to all of that. But that's, I think, in order to bring great people on, these systems and having these documents and things like that are so important, because it brings clarity. It brings, that communication piece of what's really expected of this person. And that produces some of the best outcomes. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think for the owner operator who's out in the field, I think another really great thing for them to document is a good mission statement for their business. Have
Absolutely.
their core values written out. Understand this is who we are. This is why we do it, and then communicating that constantly to your team, and making sure that they don't just like I tell my guys, we're not here just to paint. We're here, painting's what we do, but it's the people, right? People matter. And that's actually at the end of our mission statement is, we do all this because people matter. And, it's like the person that you're working with matters, the homeowners that we're doing work for, they matter. Like I matter as your boss. Like, we're all people, and we deserve to be cared for and taken care of. And so that's been like a game changer for me. And I love that you talk about like that family aspect of your business. And I think culture is so important. It can be really hard to develop, but I think when your hiring is good and it's on point, you're weeding out the wrong people. You get people that come in and fit the culture, and it's amazing, right? When you have those people that
Yeah.
understand the culture and everybody works well together, it's amazing how much better that can be for the business and just everybody involved. But
Yeah, it's important also. Like, we did an activity. My husband used to call my activities very cheesy when we got everybody together,
mm-hmm,
because I would pick like a cheesy topic and kind of run with it. But my topic for March, which he absolutely loved for the kickoff, was I wanted everybody to come. I gave everyone like a thing of Post-its, and I wanted them to come up, and we had a whiteboard at the head of our shop, and I wanted them to write down 3 goals or dreams that they had or wanted to accomplish within the next 5 years.
mm-hmm,
And I gave them all an opportunity to stand up in front of everybody and put them up on our vision board. And we did a company family vision board. and a Clearview family vision board. And it gave us the opportunity, again, because you're remote. So like a lot of companies work under one roof together. So everyone gets to know each other personality wise, but you can't when you're all remote. And something that's very big to me and my husband is the feeling of community. So we do our best to try and create that through these bonding activities. And we had people going up there saying, I want to buy a house within the next 5 years. And so like you keep that at the top of your list. Like if I see something that comes up in our area, like I might tell them like, hey, go look at that. That's a good price. Or someone said that they wanted to build their own house and they don't think it's going to be within the next 5 years, but at some point they want to buy a small plot of land and build their own house. And I know that they'll do that. Somebody wanted to say, I want to get married. I'm in a really good relationship and I want to buy a ring and I want to get married. It's just things that you think about. And then when you're touching base with somebody on, hey, how did that roof cleaning go? You know, by the way, did you get the ring yet? Like they're conversation starters too. So what you're saying with like keeping people together and making them feel good about themselves and your values and all of that, it's important to get to know your teams. And I think that strategically also helps you to grow because your teammates will say like, hopefully, I love working at Clearview Washing because, you know, I love Fred and Christine. Like they make me feel like they're a part of the family. Like, and then that translates onto your customers and then your customers feel that way. So I feel like there's this whole domino effect with making people feel good and creating a nice community.
Yeah, that's really good. Question, do you guys have any like strategic way that you guys try to show appreciation to your employees? Or, one thing that I found for myself is like just random little acts of kindness, if you will, have been a game changer for me in like showing my team that I appreciate them, whether that's like showing up with, a cash tip or bonus, for everybody on the team, or gift cards, throwing them like a extra bonus on their pay. Have you guys done any of that? And if so, what does that look like? Do you guys have like a structure for it, or do you guys just do random things?
We have a structure for it. So we use Bonus Up. It was
Okay.
formerly known as Hourly IQ, and they have the ability to gain up to $10 per hour, depending on their productivity rate. So it keeps them, motivated to keep the day moving along. So there's that, and then they also get money per Google review that they bring in, and we use Nice Job for that. So anytime that
Yeah.
Nice Job gets a Google review, they get a $10 bonus in that production pay. So Bonus Up allows you to like add things. So if they got, a production bonus accumulated to an extra $600 for that month, on top of that, they're going to see like their line items they also got 25 reviews. So here's an extra, X amount of dollars. And so that we like to incentivize them with money. They do get gratuities from our employees. We use Jobber, which I know that you do too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Jobber has the tips feature, which has been
Mm-hmm.
huge. So we're able to give that to them at the end of every month too. So we like to do things like that. And then I know that our field operations guys like to, if we're doing a really challenging, large community cleaning and they're on the same job for, 15 days, and that gets exhausting for them. And it's a lot of physical labor. They'll, do pizzas and,
Mm-hmm.
buy them lunch and things like that. So we try to keep them motivated like that. But again, when we can get everybody in the same room, we really make our March kickoff, our Clearview Day, which is in August, and then our holiday party very special. We do like little tickets, like a little raffle, and then we'll get, big screen TVs or auto detailing, or, we did a $250 steakhouse in the area gift card. So like we'll do like 6 or 7 really high ticket item gifts, and then
Mm-hmm.
everyone gets a raffle ticket and then they can win. We did like a really big barbecue last year. Lots of cool stuff. So we try to keep them motivated in that way, and in hopes that it makes them feel special. We also invite family members or spouses, or whoever you want to bring. You can bring a guest to Clearview Day and the holiday party, because I think that everybody wants to feel like they're important, whether they'll say it or not. And I think that being able to bring someone in your family to meet the people you work for and the people you work with makes you feel special and important. Like, I used to feel that way when I worked at a corporate job. Like, if you go to a function by yourself, you're amongst your employees. But if I got to bring my mom, or even like back then, like someone I was dating, or, you just feel like special and important. So I try and take like some of the ways that I felt in the corporate world, and I try and implement the positives in the small business home service industry, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. I can say that one thing that I have struggled with, like you say, you do these three big events and such, is I've like wondered, I'm like, because we're a smaller team right now. I just have 3 employees in the field and then myself. I used to, last year we had like 12 employees plus myself, but even when we were that size, and having a couple of subcontractors working for us, I was like, I don't know, like, if people really want to come to something like that if I were to do it. But it sounds like what you're saying is like they really appreciate it, have fun, and get something out of it.
They really do. Like, when we recently, me and my husband were on a brand, and my father-in-law, we were on a brand refresh call because we want to like spice up our brand, right? It's been 20 years. So on that call, like, we were talking about like our why and what motivates us and what makes us keep going and stuff, because he was trying to get to like, what's our mission statement. And all 3 of us separately, whatever our answers were, led to community, and the feeling of community, and creating a place where people feel like they belong and they fit in, regardless of what their external, environment looks like, or whatever they're dealing with in their personal lives. And our proudest moments as business owners, because on the day to day, you're usually like putting out fires, right? Like, your process can never be good enough where there's no fire to put out. Like, there's always something.
Yeah.
And we feel our proudest when we do see our employees together and they're laughing together. So for Clearview Day this year, we had it at our house in our backyard, and we hired a company to come. It's called Porterhouse Party, and they make steaks, these dry aged steaks, and it's this whole steak experience. And they're just walking around like passing out steaks all day long, and it was amazing. And we have a cooler full of beer and drinks, and it's just, when you're standing there and you're watching a bunch of strangers that you found through, different resources like Indeed and word of mouth, sitting together and laughing and joking together, you feel so proud of yourself, because you're like, we created friendships. We had 2 of our employees go to Jamaica over the winter when they were laid off, because we're very seasonal and we're off in January and February, but they traveled together. And then we had another 2 employees, and they got their families together and they had a family barbecue together this summer. So like, when we find out about this stuff, we're like, our why is community, and we're creating community. We're creating friendships. We're creating long-lasting relationships. And that's really, really important to us. So the whole point of that is, I wouldn't be afraid of that, because you never know what someone needs. They might need to be with people that they work with, because you don't know what's going on in their lives.
Yeah. It's really good and encouraging. And I think sometimes it's just, this is, it's like getting into a mindset where, like, understanding that you don't have to always just be like the boss. Like, I guess I can kind of get into this mindset of like, oh man, like my guys aren't going to want to hang out with me. Like, I'm their boss. Like, they're probably, why would they want to come to a work event or something like that? It's like they work all week. Why would they? You know what I'm saying? But I love hearing what you're saying, because it's encouraging, and it helps me to like change how I think about that. But I'm gonna go ahead and kind of bring us to a conclusion here, and just go over a couple things that we talked about. So we talked about how important it is to have documentation of like all your everything that you do as a business owner, to get you into that mode to hire, and then having a really good hiring process and a system to that, so that when you bring on people, you're not just bringing on warm bodies, but you're bringing on great people who are going to fit your culture and are going to work well with your company. And then lastly, just creating that environment for great people to grow and thrive and succeed at your company, and building that community. I think those are some really great action steps for people who are wanting to get out of the field to take. Let's close this out. I have 3 questions for you. What is you guys are obviously crushing it. Your revenue is great, about expecting to do over 2 million, great net. With where you are now, what is a challenge to growth? What is your next goal that you're striving for? Where are you going? And what are some action steps that you're taking to get there?
Okay. So the first what was the first one?
So what's a challenge now, right? So like
Okay.
you have like your goals of like where you want to get to. What's a challenge now? And what is the goal that you're trying to get to, and what kind of action steps are you taking to get there?
Our goal is to become a $5 million exterior cleaning company. And we know that we can do that. We are currently 60% commercial, 40% residential, and we want to kind of run with that. Our current challenge is we hire in order to put somebody in front of the luxury residential client. And we do not feel like that is the same employee that needs to be on a commercial job. So we are trying to find a way to bid commercial at a lower cost with a different set of employees. So that's like our current goal / challenge, which we feel is going to get us to $5 million.
Yeah. Well, so I guess my follow-up question to that is, would you operate those as like 2 separate divisions? And is that how you operate currently, or do you guys kind of have the same crews do both the residential and commercial right now?
We have the same crews doing both. We have like our designated like first draft. Like if a commercial job comes in, these are the 2 to 3 crews you're going to send over. But if they're not available, they can do, if we're not doing a commercial job, they can do residential. But we believe that we will be able to, we wouldn't operate under different umbrellas. It would still be Clearview Washing.
Yeah.
Brand wise, there's Clearview Washing, and then there's going to be Clearview Washing, the commercial, division.
Right.
It would all be the same. I just think we would arrange the crews differently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, based on what you guys are doing, I'm sure you guys will get there. And, I'd love to be able to follow up with you and, at a later date and see how you guys are doing with that. I know that recently too, you just got awarded with like in your state, or was it your city, like a top female
It was
CEO?
in our state. I was chosen as one of the 50 best women in business for New Jersey NJ Biz,
Awesome.
which was a huge honor. And I've always watched that list and have found that it's very corporate, and there's so many fantastic women doing such amazing things. And I just thought to myself, maybe one day I can be on it, just on a smaller scale. I'm not at a corporation anymore, but Clearview does great things, and we give back to the community, and we're creating jobs. And so I kind of just, with all honesty, put that on paper and sent it in, and I got chosen. So it was a great honor, and it was an even greater honor to be in a room with all of the other women there and just hear about the things that they're doing, because it makes me want to do more. You small businesses and the home service industry are not very glamorous. It feels like very just work and blue collar and things like that. But I think that as we grow, and as other, home service industry owners, companies grow, there is a way to give back even on a smaller scale, even if it's just through food donations and things like that. So it was just a really nice reminder that as we continue to grow and get everything that we want to be able to give it back to the local community and kind of share it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on that honor. And, it sounds like you guys are crushing it up there in New Jersey. I'm sure it's cold.
It's freezing today.
It's nice. It's nice and warm down here in Florida. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing, everything that you're doing, and sharing your expertise on just the systems and processes needed to create a thriving home service business. And, I hope you'll continue to, share that and inspire others, because, it's adding so much value to the home services industry in a whole. And like you said, I think the home service industry can get a bad rap sometimes. But I mean, even to all of our listeners, I think the home service industry is one of the greatest entrepreneurial opportunities right now, like ever before, because, like even Jobber, they released that report showing that there's a 500,000 worker deficit in the trades. And just for the amount of people that are leaving, there's not enough people coming in, which I think that creates a lot of demand for these skilled trades. And I think there's really going to be greater opportunities that arise, as we see that demand for skills in these trades, go up. So a lot of great opportunity there, and a great need for leadership right now in the trade. So appreciate what you're doing to add value, and thank you so much for being on the Off the Ladder podcast. I hope that this helps those that are watching to achieve that goal of getting off the ladder and becoming the CEO and owner of their business. And if you like this content, please comment, share it, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Off the Ladder podcast.